Oh, Gigi going through and throwing it down.
You played a hell of a game, and if people didn't know who you were, they know who you are now. I'm so proud of you. Congratulations on being ready, brother.
Do you remember Michael Carter-Williams? He might be the poster boy for players who peaked in their rookie season. In fact, he peaked in his first ever NBA game. As the years progressed, however, the Sixers and every other team he's been on realized his flaws were too noticeable. The low IQ, the broken jump shot, and the only way he can play defense is gambling for steals. MCW was simply not good enough to contribute to winning, and his career got cut short. In this video, let's take a look at several very young NBA players who fans had so much faith in upon their arrival to the league. And now their place on the team is uncertain. How and why did their teams change their minds on these guys? Let's take a look.
Very rough and bumpy year last year, but I was expecting things to come too fast, and I gotta step back and breathe a little.
Hey guys, before we continue with this video, I want to give SeatGeek a huge shout out. With 35 million downloads, over 70,000 events listed, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app for a reason. Basketball season is ramping up very quickly, and it's the perfect time to get some tickets for yourself or maybe a loved one. With SeatGeek, you can see the view of every ticket on your app, and each one is rated on a scale of 1 to 10. Green dots mean they're great, while red dots are bad. You already know I've used SeatGeek multiple times for concerts, basketball games, and more, so of course you know I got a deal for you guys. Use my promo code ANDYHOOPS10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with my promo code ANDYHOOPS10. Click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring this video. GG Jackson. When Cooper Flagg became the youngest player to score 40+ points in an NBA game, the only thing I can think of was when GG Jackson almost did it a few years ago. At 19 years and 119 days old, Jackson scored 44 points against the Denver Nuggets. At the time, he became the second youngest player in history to score at least 40, only behind LeBron James. He kinda came out of nowhere, considering he was a second-round pick, a relatively unknown prospect from South Carolina. He didn't even play for the first half of his rookie season, so he exploded onto the scene and brought excitement to a floundering Grizzlies team. By the end of the year, I wouldn't say he became a household name, but his rise to fame was extraordinary, and his story of going from the G League, then a two-way contract, then a rising young star on an NBA franchise, all while doing this with a bubbly smile on his face, it resonated with fans. He was simply a happy teenager fulfilling his NBA dream. Perhaps labeling him as a rising young star was too optimistic. GG Jackson was actually heavily scouted prior to his arrival to the NBA, and a huge reason he dropped so far down the board was due to one major red flag: his maturity.
Can you help me answer that question, Chris, bro? Why don't I have the ball in my hands when it's crunch time, bro?
His most infamous moment came during college. After a loss, Jackson went on Instagram Live and delivered a rant, hating on his coaches for not giving him enough minutes and benching him during crunch time. It wasn't just that, but several moments during college when his body language was poor and his lethargic effort in his pre-draft workouts was the cherry on top. It scared teams away from taking him because he was a walking head case. Despite a successful rookie year, he also got fined 4 different times and even suspended by the team for misconduct. One moment in particular happened when he came into practice extremely out of shape and out of breath, so he had to leave early. Then, when a reporter went to ask him what happened, he was found vaping in the locker room. Like, really? Jackson became a fan favorite, but behind the scenes, the organization had concerns of his immaturity. Maybe they should have seen this coming, as they were warned beforehand. For a second-round pick, though, you might as well take a chance. August 27th, he broke his foot. Unfortunately, Jackson's rise hit a roadblock. A broken foot kept him out for the first 3 months of his sophomore year, and when he came back, you could tell he needed more time to adjust. His entire second year was considered a recovery and rehab year to prepare him for his third season, and that's where things started off very rocky. In a season where the Grizzlies have suffered so many injuries, Ty Jerome, Zach Edey, Brandon Clark, Scottie Pippen Jr., the team was crippled so bad that the Grizzlies were granted a hardship exception from the NBA to allow them to add another player to the roster. The fact that GG Jackson still could not crack the rotation despite all these injuries it's a bad sign. The reasons are quite simple. He's one of the worst defenders the league has ever seen, which stems from his poor instincts and lack of effort. Basically, the same issues back in college that he never cared to fix. And offensively, he may have some exhilarating performances, but he's a net negative. As a power forward, he doesn't really have any of the skills you want from a traditional power forward, like rebounding or boxing out. He exudes more guard-like skills, but even then, his shooting is very inconsistent and his handles are subpar. I heard somebody call him like the homeless version of Kevin Durant. It's hard to watch him play and think he has any NBA caliber skills, because he really doesn't. It makes you wonder how he blew up in his rookie year to begin with, but it's because the Grizzlies were going through a transition period. They were without Ja Morant and they were losing a ton of games. In his rookie season, the team was essentially tanking the last couple months, so what better way to tank than to give a 45th overall pick all the shots he wants? In reality, Jackson had too many flaws in his game, and now I don't even think the Grizzlies see him in their future plans. He fell out of the rotation and he has no redeeming qualities when he does play. Jeremy Sochan. What's more disappointing than being a 22-year-old who's seeing their playing time get cut in half? Well, seeing your playing time get cut in half and seeing your team doing much, much better without you. Ever since the beginning of the Victor Wembanyama era, it always seemed like him and Jeremy Sochan were on their way to becoming a great 1-2 punch. In Sochan's first 3 years in the league, so many people had good things to say about him. He can play 1 through 4, he's so versatile, he has the skills to be a point forward. Heck, even Greg Popovich tried experimenting with him at point guard because he had so much faith in this kid. There was one problem, a big problem. The Spurs kept losing. Despite being a starter for his first 2 years, Sochan started getting benched more often, and by his 4th year, he's now a full-time bench warmer. What happened was, the Spurs had a hard time gauging what to do with him. On paper, he had so many tools that theoretically should make him a great player, but he has yet to figure out how to utilize them. Instead, the team realized they just need a guy to plug into their system and play well alongside Wemby. That's why Julian Champagnie leapfrogged ahead of him in the rotation, because he fits more into the role of a traditional 3-and-D wing player. The dude's a better defender and much better three-point shooter than Sochan, and that's what the Spurs need. They don't need some guy who doesn't have a true position, who can do a bunch of different things. They just need a guy who can do 1 or 2 things very well, and that's Julian Champagnie. They even prefer the older, more experienced Harrison Barnes, who doesn't mind standing in the corner and shoot threes. And if they want somebody off the bench who can get a bucket, they look to Keldon Johnson, who's better at creating his own shot than Sochan. With the Spurs trying to solidify their playoff position, this is the first time of the Wemby era where they have a winning record. The truth is, Sochan no longer has a productive role on this team. They still view him as a project player, who could potentially get better down the road and tap into his enormous potential. But maybe not in San Antonio. It became obvious by the October deadline. Sochan did not get an extension on his rookie deal. It's common for players and teams to have disagreements on rookie extensions and how much they're worth, but apparently the Spurs did not even consider him at all, which means the writing is on the wall. He's been getting inconsistent minutes for over a year now, and it looks like the coaching staff is trying to find a place where he can fit in. They simply don't know where. They want players with a defined skill set, somebody they can look at and say, "You're good at this, so you're gonna do this." With Sochan, he's currently a jack-of-all-trades, master of none. He's an okay ball handler, he's an okay passer, an okay rebounder, an okay shot creator, but there's no skill where he excels in. And if they need something specific, they got someone else on the team who's better at it. With their push to contend right now, the Jeremy Sochan experiment is over. There's no more time to wait. He got left in the dust on a Spurs team that's now flourishing without him. Keegan Murray.
Over to Murray for the record. Got it! Murray emblazons himself into the history books.
Did you know that to this day, Keegan Murray still holds the record for most threes made in a season by a rookie? With 206 threes made, that's like 20 more than the next closest players, Donovan Mitchell and Damian Lillard. His rookie season was also the same year the Kings had a magical run, ending their 16-year playoff drought, and Murray greatly contributed to that. While the team wasn't able to reproduce that season, Murray was also not able to shoot that well again. In the years following, his three-point shot has regressed, and while he's become a much better defender, his game has stagnated. So prior to the 2025-26 season, the Kings granted him a 5-year, $140 million extension, which was confusing. Some folks defend this contract saying, oh, that's just below $30 million per year for a young player who's a critical piece of this team. That's not bad, right? On the other hand, Murray just came off a year where he shot career lows across the board, and perhaps it would have been better for the team to wait and see how he does, and let him enter restricted free agency where the team can still retain him if they choose. On the plus side, while his contract is big, it's not big enough to make him untradeable. Down the road, if the Kings are looking to blow it up and his name is on the trade block, it wouldn't be hard to trade him if they wanted to, and start over. Either way, this contract gives them more flexibility. But if the front office knew the Kings would have their most disastrous season in a while as they fell to the bottom of the standings, I don't think they would have given Keegan this extension. Murray's new extension will last until 2031. Who knows where the Kings will be by then? I know Murray has dealt with injuries, in particular a thumb injury that messed up his jumper, but his decline in shooting is more than that. It correlates with the Kings' regression over the years. The roster has changed a lot. Back then, they were an exciting young team, fresh legs, little to no injuries, and a style of play that emphasized spacing and hitting the right guy. Now, the offense is completely different. You have guys like an old Russell Westbrook and DeMar DeRozan on the floor at the same time, so there's no spacing at all. A few years ago, the Kings were top 10 in both three-point attempts and three-point percentage. Now, they're 29th in three-point attempts. It also makes it hard for their best player, Sabonis, to actually benefit from his passing ability because the floor is so congested. There's a reason why his assist numbers got cut in half, and it's because they're not running plays through him as much as before. Much of the team's possessions have been gobbled up by LaVine, DeRozan, and Westbrook. As a result of the bad spacing and stagnant offense, Murray and the other role players have suffered the side effects. I don't even think it's his fault, honestly, but with how bad the Kings are doing and how old they are, I wouldn't be surprised if they push the reset button and start over completely. Anyway, that's all folks, let me know your thoughts on these three guys. I know Murray will probably be in the league for a long time, but I feel like GG Jackson and maybe even Sochan's careers are in limbo. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching, and of course, as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.